Good morning. It's Tuesday morning, 8 January 2013. Here's all the news in Panama that's worth talking about today. In La Prensa, they're leading off with the fact that the Financial Pacific case could be investigated internationally. They're about a week behind on this. As soon as this story broke, I called the Securities Commission in British Columbia and asked them what they were going to be doing on this situation. Petakia is based out of Vancouver, and that's in British Columbia, in Canada. And because the stock is traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange, if there's any problems with that activity, it would be investigated by the Securities Commission from the area where the company is headquartered. So I talked to those guys, and they're aware of what's going on. There's interest, obviously, in the what appears to be the regular purchase or transactions. You really can't tell just by looking at the volume because you don't know if they were buy or sell, and you don't know who bought what. But the standard activity on that stock in a day is about at that time was about 130, 140,000 shares a day, and then you had 4 purchases spread out over about a week and a half or 2 weeks. I forget the dates. And there were 30 million shares bought. So when you have in 4 days, so, and at the time they only had about 100 million shares out. So 30 million, 100 million, 30% of the company, and they bought that at the lower price. Not all of it was at 22 cents a share, but it was at relatively cheaper prices. And then a couple of weeks later, as soon as the news came out that Panama had given Petakia the permission to go ahead and start producing and exporting gold, then the price of the stock jumped up and went up as high as $1.20. According to the investigators in British Columbia, what they're mostly concerned about is they just need one thing to investigate, and if they can find where someone was making that purchase based on insider information, well, then they can start their investigation and off they go. So they're going to be looking at those purchases of the 30 million shares and figuring that out. So La Prensa is absolutely correct. The Financial Pacific case it's already being investigated internationally. And the investigators are looking at all of those transactions. And I'm sure that those guys are going to be talking amongst themselves. The guys in British Columbia and the people in New York will be looking at it. And I believe it's also traded in Frankfurt. So once again, expect Financial Pacific, Petakia, and all of these issues to get bigger before they get smaller. Okay. The government of Panama is in the process of creating a thing they're going to call the Water Authority to replace the current IDAN. They're going to give that authority a budget of $800 million to start. When they looked at the problems with the IDAN, the first thing they recognized is that the IDAN doesn't have enough money to improve service. Their current budget is for $133 million a year to function and $90 million a year for improvements. And that money they've mostly spent on expanding the network of drinking water service. And this is for the whole country. So 130, 90, they're basically going to quadruple the amount of money that's available for the drinking water service. And this is drinking water and sewers. This is water goes into your house and it goes back out. So this is coming. It's a change. And over time, it should improve service, hopefully. Okay, in Arihan, there will be no water. This is in Estrellas, the next topic. The Panama Canal Authority is going to be replacing a 24-inch pipe, which takes the water from the water treatment plant in Miraflores to the western part of the province of Panama. And so Arihan is going to be without water today and also next week, Tuesday. So be aware of that. Now, in the, let me see, this is La Critica. The people from Cologne are going to start protesting again. Well, you remember when they had that thing about they were going to sell the land of the Cologne Free Trade Zone, and the people in Cologne protested, and then they went back in the law. Then they were going to sit down and talk. Well, now they want to have talks again. Well, the law has already been revoked. They're not going to sell the land. There's really no more reason to protest. But if these guys want to go ahead and protest, fine. the government ministers kind of realized that there's really not a whole lot to talk about. We're already spending like $1 billion a year in Cologne on infrastructure improvements of every shape and flavor. So what are we going to go talk about? So whatever, the people in Cologne are pissed and they're going to go protest and have a good day. Okay, and here in Telemetro, again, this Financial Pacific investigation is spreading throughout all of the different Panama news media. The Telemetro TV station has picked it up, and they're saying that the actions of the Supreme Court create suspicions in the Financial Pacific case. The Supreme Court stepped in and halted a reorganization that had been ordered by the Superintendent of Market Securities, based on a request from Financial Pacific. You have to ask yourself why. You know, there was $14 million or something missing, or 12. It turned out to be like $12.2 million missing from the accounts, and the security, basically what is the equivalent of the Security and Exchange Commissions here in Panama, stepped in and said, wait, stop, we're going to reorganize this, and they put in their auditors and they began an investigation. Then the Supreme Court stepped in and said, no, you guys can just stop that and get out of there. That don't look great on the surface. You know, it's like, why the hell would they do something like that? It just doesn't make sense. And now everybody's kind of standing around waiting for the Supreme Court to decide the case, and they're not doing it. So the longer it drags on, the worse it gets. Anyway, once more, Financial Pacific. And in related to big corruption cases, Walter Lavitola is going to be facing his second hearing next Friday. This is the guy who set up the deal with Juan Carlos Varela with the Finmecánica case in here in Panama to buy the 19 radar sets and helicopters and digital mapping services. I call this corruptus interruptus because they were in the process of doing the corruption. They were going to be stealing a couple of $100 million of tax money. They had overinflated the value of the contract. And the way it works is if you have a contract that really should be worth, let's say, $600 million, then you do the paperwork so that it says $800 million, then the other $200 million gets kicked back to the people that set this whole thing up. Well, it all fell apart in Italy before the Panama deal could come down. So there really wasn't, the corruption didn't occur. They were planning on doing the corruption. This is why Varela got fired. This is why the alliance between the Panaministas and the Cambio Democrático broke up. Speaking of the Cambio Democrático, the headline here in the siglo is that time is running out for the Cambio Democrático. The fact of the matter is that they don't have a political candidate defined for the 2014 elections. And three of the past and current presidents, Mireya Moscoso, Martín Torrijos, and Martinelli, all of them ran for president once, lost, ran again, and then won. So they needed that much time to build up their name recognition to become a viable candidate so that they could get elected. The Cambio Democrático seems to think they could just take any knucklehead, toss him in there at the last minute, and he'll get elected in practically a year from now. That's might work. It might turn out to be a bad plan. Right now, it's looking more and more like the good money should go on the PRD and Juan Carlos Navarro. Okay, where are we at? Okay, here is the Mi Diario. There's they call him a young Hindu man who's missing from Cologne. 23-year-old kid left his house in Cologne in La Cresta, the neighborhood of La Cresta. He was driving his own car. He was going towards the free zone where he was going to go to work. He never got there. He disappeared. So don't know where that guy is. He might have gotten kidnapped. Speaking of kidnappings, in Dia Dia, there's a woman who had been kidnapped, and apparently the kidnappers got $10,000 out of her family and basically left her in the place where they had her, where they were holding her. She was 38 years old, and her husband had also gotten murdered in December. So who knows what that family got tied up in. But anyway, the husband has now been murdered. She was kidnapped, and they pulled $10,000 out of the family. So, but anyway, she was released. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. Today is, once again, Tuesday, the 8th of January, 2013. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.